Hey guys, so today's video is about the aftermath of the Second Crusade from 1184 to 1187, and it is the last part of the aftermath of the Second Crusade. And then after we'll be moving on to the Third Crusade. So this was the final step to Jerusalem, and Saladin's achievements by this time were that since 1169 he was dedicated to extending his power over Egypt, Syria, and parts of Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq. And between 1185 to 1186, Saladin has had a near-death experience, so he becomes more religious, just like Nur al-Din. He has a spiritual awakening, I guess. And in 1187, Saladin launched several small attacks into Crusader territory. For example, the Battle of Cressons, where the Franks lost 100 of their best knights. And next was the Battle of Hattin in June of 1187. Both sides were preparing for battle, and there were only 16,000 men on the Frankish side, with around 1,200 knights, while the Muslims had 30,000 men on their side with around 12,000 cavalry, so the Franks were outnumbered by a large amount. Saladin's trap of keeping Raymond III's wife hostage worked, and Guy of Lusignan ordered his army to rescue her. Also, on the route to Tiberias, Saladin filled up wells that the Crusaders would have used to drink water, and therefore, when the Crusaders were dehydrated, Saladin's forces attacked them with arrows, since the Muslim forces were really good horse archers, and the Crusaders tried to kill Saladin at the Battle of Hattin, but only killed the men around him and were unable to reach him. Saladin captured Reynaud of Chatillon and beheaded him on the spot, while Guy de Lusignan, the king of Jerusalem, was captured but spared, and the Frankish forces were wiped out at Hattin. So, what was the impact of the Battle of Hattin? So the key tactics used by Saladin were that he lures the Crusaders out of Sephoria, scorched earth, and hit and run. And you can say that this is similar to to the tactics that Genghis Khan used in, for example, the invasion of Khwarezmia and the Jin invasions. And the mistakes made by the Crusaders were that they marched into Tiberias and did not have enough supplies, and there was a lack of discipline within their army because their leader was not very strong. So how did things change in the Crusader states after this? So in 1185, Baldwin IV dies, and his reign created instability within the Crusader states, which increased after his death. The new king, Baldwin V, a 7-year-old, became the new king, and he later died in 1186, which started another succession crisis. Then Sibylla and Guy of Lusignan were crowned rulers of Jerusalem. However, this made Raymond III of Tripoli upset, as he wanted to be king of Jerusalem. Therefore, he made a truce with Saladin, allowing the Muslims to move across his lands if they supported him. And this highlights the disunity within the Crusader states once again, and how they were unable to focus on their key goal, which was being strong against the Muslim forces. So how did these events lead to the fall of Jerusalem? So a Muslim chronicler wrote that the unity of the Franks was disrupted and their cohesion was broken. This was one of the most important factors that brought about the conquest of their territories and the liberation of Jerusalem. The army that was raised to fight Saladin meant that not many people were left to defend the Crusader states. Saladin's forces recaptured Crusader coastal settlements in Palestine, and in September 1187, Saladin's forces besieged Jerusalem, and Jerusalem was captured on the 29th of September after a 5-day siege. So perspectives from Jones are that Crusader states were riven with faction, the West had lost its appetite for large-scale crusading to the Lord's sepulchre, and it just means that the Crusaders were not motivated like before, they were not united and had little focus, and their leadership was not as powerful. And the examples of Muslim strength is how they had numerical strength in the Battle of Hattin because they outnumbered the Franks, and the patience of Saladin in battle. The overall plan of luring the Crusaders into a trap, and that they had good logistics and were even able to supply ice water in the desert. Yeah, and examples of Crusader weakness are that they had fractured leadership, and there was lots of squabbling and infighting between the leaders. They were not listening to advice, and the men were poorly rested on the day of battle, which may have been a reason why they lost the Battle of Hattin. So yeah, that's it. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed.